Hello there, my name is Martin Henley. This is my photography blog Super Sharp Shooting, and this is episode number 5 in the series that I'm calling Way Back Photos, where I basically have a look at and talk about photos that I took a long time ago for a number of reasons. Partly because I think it's a good idea to share photographs. There's a chance that somebody might see them. Secondly, because we will see right now that photos quite often have got lost. So it's an attempt to stop photos getting lost again, another way to back them up. Thirdly, it's quite good fun to look at old photographs and think about what went on, what you might have learnt. And fourthly, because the reason I'm making the videos is because Google wants some text on the pages, because otherwise it's not going to show my photos to anyone. So the idea is I shoot the video and we transcribe the text, and then Google gets what it wants and maybe I get what I want, which is people taking a look at my photographs. So you will see exactly how this works is if I share my screen with you, is that in episode 4 we were talking about a time that I took photos on the River Ada, and that was in November 2005, and then the very next set of photographs that we've got isn't until November 2007. Now 100% I definitely took photos in those 2 years, although that was also the time that I started my business, so maybe I was a bit distracted. But also what we've established when I wasn't recording the audio on these videos, so when I say we, I mean literally me on my own, established is that I was at this point, I had upgraded my camera to the Nikon D40X, which had a whopping 10.2 megapixels, an ISO range from 100 to 3200. I didn't know what any of these things meant at the time. Is that a shooting rate of 3 frames per second? It was an ASPC entry-level DSLR, the first DSLR that I owned myself. And at this point, I was shooting with the kit lens, which is the 18 to 55 millimeter f3.5 to f5.6. So that's the technical bit. And at we owned a 4x4. And I can tell you exactly how this came about. Is because one day a mate of mine messaged me and he said, let's buy a 4x4, it'll be a great deal of fun. And I'm like, well, it sounds expensive, blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, I found one for 500 quid. And I'm like, okay, well, that sounds okay. And he's like, I've got another James, his name was James, I've got another James involved, and he wants to go in with us on this thing for 500 quid. I'm like, okay, well, where is it? And he said, well, it's in Hertfordshire, so it might have been Welwyn Garden City or, I don't know, somewhere like that. And so I said, okay, how are we going to get it? And he's like, well, the really good news is that I'm going to a party there this Saturday, so we're going to be driving it up. So we'll drive up, we'll decide if we want the car or not, and then you can just drive it back and it'll be absolutely fine. Well, wherever it was about 100 miles away from where I was living at the time in Shoreham by Sea, but we did buy it and I did drive it back, and it did do about 40 miles an hour, and it didn't have a radio and it didn't have a heater and it had a soft top, and so I honestly think it took me about 3 hours to drive this thing home. But that's where the fun started, because let me tell you, 4x4 driving is an enormous amount of fun. And this little car, like the Suzuki SJ 1.2, it might have been, I don't know, but this is probably one of the most capable off-road vehicles in the world. It's light, it's powerful, it's whatever. And we know this because we'd be standing, waiting to drive up this insanely steep bit of off-road course, and we'd see Land Rover Defenders failing and Land Rover Range Rovers failing and Land Cruisers all failing, and then this little SJ would go up it, like not without problems, but it would go up it. And the thing about this is that this is the most tremendous fun. Like I say, it had a soft top, it didn't have a hard top, and it didn't have a roll bar. So the one time that we rolled it, and I've got the video somewhere from like a really bad 2007 phone, we rolled it because we're trying to get up this ridiculously steep hill, and we rolled it, and then we're just laughing like girls, and we think, like I was saying something like gravity's not working, and we were upside down, and we were worried that the petrol would leak and it would catch fire and all this stuff. And it was just hilarious. You know that buzz you get when you're doing something completely stupid and you get busted for it, and it's just hilarious, and you are squealing like a little girl. And so anyway, we had this for a year or two. We might have been out 10 times. These are the only photos that exist from that time, and thankfully I've got them to talk about them here. Now, I was shooting auto at this time. I didn't know how to shoot manual, didn't even probably know that shooting manual was a thing. But we've got some XF information. So you can see here that we are shooting at 39 millimeters at 4.2 f4.2 and a hundredth of a second at an ISO of 800. So you get lots of motion here on this wheel, and the rest of it is kind of sharp. It's had some weird edit that I must have thought was cool when I edited this in 2014. I think this really gives you a sense of kind of the action involved in this little SJ going up and down these stupidly steep inclines and declines, and this even more so. So this is 82 millimeters. So maybe I had that longer lens right from the beginning. Because it's at 82 millimeters. So I must have been shooting then with this, the Nikon AFS 70 to 300 millimeters. This is the benefit of putting the EXIF. I don't know if it's a bit nausy putting this on here, but it does give you a sense of what's going on. So an ISO 8000, I mean, it's not shockingly bad, is it? It's not shockingly bad at 800 rather than 8,000. But this really gives you a sense of what goes on. Like the wheel's not on the ground, it's spewing, throwing mud everywhere. It was a tremendous amount of fun. So this is at the top of one of these inclines. It gives you a sense of the whole vehicle. It was just a tiny, tiny little Suzuki, but it would drive up walls and through rivers, and it was amazing. This shot is clearly completely overblown, shooting here at a 30th of a second. So I don't know if this is motion blur or it's just like overblown. At f5.6 at 55 millimeters. So I don't know how this is quite so overexposed, but I probably didn't know how to bring it back. I mean, there's nothing coming back there, is that? That's lost. But again, it gives you a sense of the action driving down this stupidly steep incline. And it was just so exciting. It's one of those things that you do, and after you've done it, you feel like you're alive, because you've done something ridiculously stupid. So this gives you a sense going up a hill, the wheel spinning again. This was James, my friend James Joyce, and somebody he brought along with him. This gives you a sense of kind of how stupid this is. The incline there is obviously not 90 degrees, but is it 60 degrees? It might be, and you can see how loose it is and how wet and muddy it is. This is in November in the UK. So obviously it's going to be grey and wet and muddy. And another kind of action shot, James going up something, James coming down something. Anyway, so the upshot of this is we bought this thing. I think it cost us about £250. And we did it for a year. It was a mission, but luckily James had like a workshop kind of a business, so we could keep it at his place, and then we had to put it on a trailer to take it around to wherever we went. And then the good news is when we came to sell it, we couldn't sell the thing because it was worthless by the time we completely broken it, but we did get £250 for the off-road tyres. So we almost got our money back. So my recommendation is, if you get the opportunity to own an off-road vehicle, like I should own an off-road vehicle here, I think. I'm in Bali, so I'm sure the off-roading here would be amazing. Off-road club, Bali. And maybe I should own one here. It would probably be easier here to find somewhere to put it and to... so there's off-road trails. So maybe the first thing I should do is just go... I see this ATV stuff around for sure. Maybe it is mainly ATV stuff. So the first thing I should do probably is get myself on a tour and go and experience some off-roading in Bali. And then maybe I should be thinking about owning an off-road vehicle again. Imagine if I could do that again for another 250 quid and be off-roading for a couple of years and then get all of my money back. Okay, that's good. We got to the end of episode 5 of Way Back Photos, and I will look forward to seeing you in episode number 6.